Welcome. This is Rolf Versluis, also known as Block Ops. April 3rd, 2019, Horizen monthly live update. We've got lots of great stuff for you today, and our big picture is that we're going to, of the update, is we're going to do a community highlights, business development updates, project updates, talk a little bit about the secure and supernode tracking system, give you all an update on marketing, and different regional activity, and then as always, Rob and I are going to be answering questions at the end. So looking forward to that, and it looks like we're streaming well, so I'm going to keep on going. Okay, so community member highlights. So Yi Neng in China has been consistently evangelizing Horizen, so wanted to recognize Yi again for that. Appreciate it. If you have somebody during the next month that you want to put into the community highlights, please contact Horace Feathers on Discord and tell her who and why. Next, want to highlight Duke Lido, who reported a vulnerability in one of our applications and showed us how what the issue was, and that's addressed. So really appreciate people doing that. That's a big help. And then I wanted to recognize Sandy Johnson Babatunde, who I have been working with in Nigeria. He has, I've been working with him since September, put on or assisted with about 8 meetups, and each of these meetups has approximately 50 to 100 people. Not only has he done them in Nigeria, but also in Benin and Liberia. And Horizen assists in the funding and send Zen to Sandy, and then he's able to set up meetups and also make t-shirts and other stuff like that. So really want to recognize Sandy for doing that. Rob, are you up? I think you're up next here.
I think we get to hear from Rowan on the BD side.
Rowan, all right. My bad. Rowan, all you.
Thanks, Rolf. Okay, so first up today, I'd like to introduce Cryptofacil to the Horizen community. And Facil in Spanish is easy, so crypto easy. They're a brand new exchange focused on both the Latin American and Caribbean markets, which gives us a really nice bit of geo-diversification. And because of that, their platform supports Spanish, Portuguese, and English. Most importantly here, these guys have partnered with Bittrex. So they're a brand new exchange, but they've done that to ensure that their new exchange has sufficient natural liquidity from the very, very start. For the whole month of April, they'll be doing a bit of an incentive where they're giving away trading completely free, so no trading fees. Head on over, check them out, and let us know what you think. Next up is an announcement that you may have seen across the channel couple of weeks. So Hot Import Nights are a leading organizer of giant modified car events, but it's more than just modified cars. They also focus on innovative new technologies. They have live music, and they have fashion and esports and entertainment, all that sort of thing. So really excited about this partnership. It gives us a really excellent opportunity to educate an entirely new audience on not just Horizen, but kind of blockchain and distributed ledger technologies as a whole, which I think is really, really important for the growth of the industry. Ultimately, if we want mass adoption, then the first thing we really need to tackle is mass education. And on that front, Levis was actually at one of their events very, very recently. Levis is our Latin American regional manager. He attended an event in Los Angeles, and he started the outreach and the education to some of the attendees of that. I also want just now to give a little bit of a shout out to our friends over at Vault Logic. They very kindly provided an ATM for the event, which meant that Levis was actually able to show people exactly how to purchase Zen there and then. Beyond simple event attendance, there's a number of interesting take with this partnership, but I'm not going to get ahead of myself right now. So for the moment, what I will say is that we're working quite closely with the Hot Import Night team to bring some of our technology to their upcoming events. And if you keep an eye on our social channels, you'll find further details of the different events that we plan on attending over the coming weeks. And with that, that's everything from me. I'll pass back to...
Great, thank you, Rowan. Okay, guys, so A quick note on strategy for us. So we are, the strategy for us is innovative, disruptive core tech and great products. So the projects that you see here go along those lines. So on the great product side, we were really happy to announce the Horizen Academy last time. So Horizen Academy is a one-stop shop education resource, not just on what we're doing, but a blockchain education resource. So guys, if you haven't checked it out yet, Horizen Academy is an excellent resource. Really happy with the team for putting it together. And it's just a start. So consider this a starting point, and there will be continuous improvement. Check it out on academy.horizen.global. Next slide, please. Again, we're just focusing on the items in blue, which are the updates. So when it comes to disruptive tech, there's nothing more disruptive about what we're doing than on the sidechain SDK side. So the sidechain SDK, we're happy to book it as 60% complete towards our alpha, which we're looking for a release for alpha release at the end of Q2, and then rolling into the beta about a quarter after that. So the sidechain work in progress right now. I'll leave the bulk of the details for Maurizio when he gives the development team update. But we're getting into the weeds here a bit, which is great because we went from high-level architecture to now actually building things. And when you start building things, you start getting into the real problems that when you're putting together just high-level specs and architecture, you may not see right away. But getting into the weeds here, the team is making some significant progress on actually making this possible. So when it comes to great products, Sphere by Horizen, something that we're very proud of. We did the 1.1.0 release previously, and now we have a B coming out there. So we have a release scheduled to coincide with our next deprecation cycle on April 19th. And the upcoming features here, I have a whole slide for this, but really high level, we're gearing this towards advanced users. And so a user console, and then ledger seed phrase restore is really important. Some other bug fixes, performance improvements I'll talk about when we get to that slide. Next slide, please. And then we have two significant core protocol releases coming up. So we have one scheduled for release in the very near term to coincide with the next deprecation cycle. So scheduled for release on April 18th. And this is a soft fork. Thank you, Rolf, for clarifying before this call. So 2.0.17 will be a soft fork that goes live post-deprecation. So this will include some really important things that Maurizio, again, we'll get into some of the details there. But the big picture, think performance improvement and efficiency. Okay, and then we'll roll into 2.1.0 release, which is already significant progress on that. And this will have the all-important full sapling release will be included in 2.1.0, including our transaction signature scheme to resolve the quadratic scaling issue that we've had in the past when we have transactions with many inputs. So very, very excited for both of these releases. It shows continuous improvement on our engineering side and our release cycle. So these releases are becoming more robotic or mechanical, which is a really good thing. So there's a lot of thought that goes into it, but the processes should be methodical, and the processes are becoming exactly that. So on that note, what you're going to see, and maybe we'll provide more detail in the next live stream, but Rosario on the back end, working with our engineering and product teams, has been working on pushing the majority of our activity to public GitHub repository. So this is actually something that we've been dinged as a project by outside investors or outside parties that will look at our public repo and say, wow, there's really not that much activity going on for these guys. Like, what are they doing, right? Because what we've actually been doing is a whole lot of development in private repositories. And then after it's gone through rigorous internal testing, we'll go and commit, say, 3 months worth of work in one commit to our public repository. And outside investors just taking a naive but rational approach to looking at our GitHub activity will actually add up number of commits, or maybe a little bit more sophisticated. We'll look at lines of code, and then ideally significant lines of code, and then use this as a gauge or proxy for how robust is this project, how much innovative activity or potential does it have. And unfortunately, we've been unfairly dinged by doing so much of our innovation and work in private repositories, really from a quality perspective. So our approach has been we want to release high quality products, including like all of our code, we want to be very high quality. So we've been developing it in private repositories. And then after extensive back and forth, internal checks on code reviews, and then internal testing, then we'll release the testnet, and then we'll push to our public repository. And unfortunately, we've been getting dinged. So what we don't want to do, and many projects in the space, not the big ones, but or I should say some projects in the space, try to game this metric. So we absolutely do not want to game the metric. What we are going to do is just migrate a lot of our development activity to a public repository. So I think this has many benefits. So some of the benefits are everyone can see exactly what we're doing, and we can show the world that we're doing innovative stuff real time. Another benefit, corollary to that is other developers in the open source community that are looking for projects to contribute to will now have a much better thread to join the conversation and join the work. So we're really excited for that. And then, of course, the benefit of this is by making so much more of the work public, then, of course, we will be measured, I think, in a more rational way, in terms of our innovative potential. So that's been stuff going on in the back end. This will be, Rosario and her team and the other guys are working on migrating our processes to be more public. So really happy for that. And in future releases, you're going to see us working exactly that way. So the direction that we give is rule of thumb, work should be public. It is by exception that things will be done in a private manner. So this will be for innovations that just haven't matured to a point where we want to make them public, maybe for a competitive reason, or maybe there's a vulnerability that's been disclosed or we've come across ourselves that we want to patch first, and then we'll make it public. So it will be by exception that things will be done privately from here on out. So really happy for that. And let's see. So the third thing on the list here for projects is we have a whole new battery of content that we're developing for Horizen Academy, and a little sneak preview. You may even get some mining knowledge from Rolf. Just throwing that out there, not putting you on the spot, Rolf. But there's a whole bunch of fun content the team's putting together that will be very instructive and educational for our community and beyond. Next slide, please. Okay, so the last thing here now towards the great side. So we've had continuous improvements on Sphere already. Sphere by Horizen. Really happy with that product. But what we're doing is we're taking it to the next level. So we have a whole bunch of product updates that, again, I have a whole slide for, but we're migrating. We're going to do some mobile releases here. So what we want is a consistent user experience between any platform that you access your application with. So we're going to have an iOS and Android releases on Sphere by Horizen and go fully mobile on that. So really excited for that. We're scheduling that work for Q3. Next slide, please. And here is where I will pass it off to Mr. Maurizio.
Thanks, Rob. Hello, everybody. So as Rob mentioned, I'm going to try to give some details about the coming up. It's just a few days away, and it looks like a minor upgrade compared to others, in particular compared to the following one that will include sapling. But in reality, from an engineering point of view, it's a significant release because we have changed the behavior of the network layer of the architecture. So we've modified some of the original Bitcoin code, very low in the stack. We've changed the behavior of the relaying of some blocks by the nodes to other nodes. And so a lot of work it's not that documented and optimized over time. So lots of work to understand in details how it works, change it, test a lot. But we've made a significant improvement, and we are really happy about that. And in the release, we have also fixed a vulnerability that comes from the original Zcash software, and that was kindly disclosed to us by Zcash. It's about the shielded transactions. You may know that a shielded transaction includes a ciphertext that can only be decrypted by the receiver of the transaction. That ciphertext includes, among other details, also the value of the transaction. and the wallet uses that to calculate and know how much coins the address received. In reality, the real value is hidden in a commitment, in the node commitment that is on the blockchain. So the vulnerability of the bug is that today we are not checking that the value in the ciphertext is the same that is hidden in the commitment. And so potentially someone could pretend to send more money, and the wallet could think that it has received more money than reality, and it only realizes that when it tries to spend it. And so we've added the extra check in the software. And so the release is just a few days away, and it's not a hard fork. So the new logic will be active immediately when the software is upgraded and run. And it's a mandatory upgrade because there is a deprecation date in the 2.0.16, a deprecation block. So everybody needs to upgrade the software before April the 26th. And I think we can move to the next slide. And where I'm going to mention that the engineering team is growing, and it's growing both in terms of numbers and in terms of quality. And it's good, and it's difficult and hard because it's not that easy to find blockchain competence in the market. So I'm very happy that we are working with a senior cryptographer, with like Vadim, and with a blockchain expert like Andre, who knows every and each project that is out there in details, not just that the project exists, but also from a technical point of view, the details. So it's it's very, very interesting each time we try to think about a model that we have a guy who knows how other people did or address problems or issues, and also good Java developers. Our latest addition is Giuseppe Fusco, a very good Java developer, so that we can progress quickly on the sidechain development. And we'll keep adding resources. And we can go to the next slide, where we will see that some of the people that I've just mentioned are this week here in Milan, where we are having a workshop, 5 people in a room, 5 days, closing some of the items that are still open on the SDK design or architecture. I'm just mentioning 2 that have just been closed in the last days. One is the protocol to collect signature on the network on the sidechain network, and another one is the selection of the verifiable random function in the Ouroboros-Prowse protocol. Ouroboros-Prowse is the protocol that we've chosen for proof of stake in our SDK, offered in our SDK. Verifiable random functions are pseudo-random function that was originally introduced by Micali, the same guy who is behind the first introduction of zero knowledge systems in the early 90s. And if you're interested, I encourage you to have a look and what they are. We've selected, we defined, what function to use, how, and randomness from the main chain. So from proof of work, randomness injected in a way injecting the proof of stake protocol of our sidechains. And with that, I think I cover it all, and I can hand it over back to Rob.
All right, guys, let me just turn my video back on. Cool. Thank you very much, Maurizio. The work that is going on, on our core improvement side and the innovation is really impressive, and I love seeing the team grow. As you mentioned, it's really difficult to find very high quality people, but the team that we've assembled, I think, will become much more evident to the rest of the industry that we've put together a very, very impressive team that's doing impressive work. So on that note, going towards our strategy for having great products, here's a little bit of detail about our 1.1.0b update for Sphere by Horizen. So Gustavo and his team, working with our partners over at CryptoParticle, and Nicola and his team, have done a great job on improving the release for Sphere by Horizen. And we have now development complete on some very interesting features. For advanced users, you now have a user console, which is really nice to have, so you don't have to fire up your full node and command line anymore. If you are an advanced user, you can actually run the equivalents now in Sphere. An important improvement here is making ledger seed phrase restore possible. So this has happened for me in particular. I'll tell you one story. Is there have been people who have been mistakenly or for whatever reason have been using known addresses that have, say, more than 42 or more than 500 Zen in a staking address, and have been using that as a node address, maybe erroneously, maybe for whatever reason. Alan can get into more detail. But what's happened is we've had a lot of micropayments sent to the wrong addresses. So basically, if you had a bunch of your Zen in a ledger, and you have just a ton of micropayments coming in, maybe you yourself have been using your ledger as your staking addresses to run nodes. Ledger can have some issues with that, with retrieving your funds. So your funds are still perfectly safe, no issues there, and our support team has helped many users recover funds. But it's really nice to be able to take your seed phrase and be able to recover that in a different wallet that doesn't have such scaling issues because it's not hardware. So having the ability to do this now with Sphere by Horizen is really nice for us to have. We've had other minor bug fixes there and performance improvements. So really nice performance improvements when it comes to many input transactions on our blockchain have been slowing down some of our wallets. And Gustavo, Nathan, and the team have been working on some significant performance improvements. One of them was kind of an 80x improvement on speed for some of our wallets. So really happy with the work the guys have been doing. There's additional minor improvements in the pipeline. And then all of this, we should note, is compatible with the 2.0.17 release for ZenD. So next slide, please. And this is where I hand it off to Alan.
Thanks, Rob. I'm going to go over what's happening with the supernode and the tracking system and secure nodes. Supernodes have been staying fairly steady in their count, and the secure node count went down a little bit recently. This was partly due to adding the tighter stake address management at the start of last month. There were some node operators who would use an address they found in the Block Explorer as their stake address during the week and change to an address they own just prior to payment processing. So last month, the tracking system was modified to only allow one stake address change per earning period. It was also modified to pay the stake address known during the earning period instead of the one known when payments were processed once a week. The secure nodes that were using this loophole ended up having their payments go to somebody else for the past couple of weeks. Many of those were supernode operators, since they maintain a steady balance with a high amount. I don't think the people who were exploiting this loophole realized this for the past few weeks, and they just recently started shutting down their secure nodes or using their own stake addresses. So a lot of payments appeared in people's wallets that were courtesy of these people who are using this exploit. Also, we had some adjustments made to server configurations to help reduce the short duration downtimes and exceptions. The certificate check retries were increased, so the server would continue to check for up to 3 minutes before creating an exception. It looks like that the node timeouts that we're experiencing may be due to the node being busy processing blocks during a cert check. So that's why we increased the retry interval. And we'll do additional.
Oops, thinks we might have lost, Alan here. So we'll continue on, and I'm assuming that the live stream is still showing. It's looking good on YouTube. So we're going to go to the next slide. I do know that what Alan wanted to talk about was to have a planned API for hosted nodes. Lucy, are you there for marketing? There you are. Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Let me just do a little bit of adjustment here. I think I'm going to, there we go, okay. And we'll go back. And all yours, Lucy.
All right. Hi, everyone. This is Lucy from, we had a really strong start, 2019, the year of delivery. So despite the crypto winter, most of the 2018, we laid solid groundwork. So we dedicated ourselves to releasing really good products and establishing business processes, which enabled us to continue to thrive and grow the Horizen economy. So we will talk more about this. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's take a look at how we in Q1 in comparison to the. So our social media outreach effort paid off. And we saw a very steady growth in our user base and the community size. Again, our social media engagement rate continued to grow, and this is a consistent and one of the bigger growths we see in the past 3 months. So this is really exciting. That tells us that we not only did our community grow in size, but more importantly, you guys stay super active and involved with the project. And something is not listed here is that we saw a consistent and big growth in our newsletter subscription as well. So we also we had over 2,000 new people joined to our news update list just in the past 3 months. So that's really impressive. And our team also has been really busy in Q1 in different parts of the world. We either hosted or represented Horizen in over 30 events in 26 cities in 15 different countries. So on the right, it's a list of some of the accomplishments the team achieved in Q1. So our business development team drove Horizen adoption through 5 key partnerships and integrations. So that includes listing on major exchanges and forming partnership with strategic partners. So while some other teams, shrunk due to crypto winter, our team actually expanded. We added 6 new team members. 5 of them are part of our core engineering team. We also had 6 software updates, including 1 core software updates. And we also have 2 new service and support launches. So they're our academy and also Spanish language support for our 24-hour service desk. So, and lastly, we have 1 new outreach platform launch, which is the Horizen podcast. And it really helps make our project update and industry news more accessible for our community. So we have a full report available on our blog site version, so please check it out. And also make sure you follow us. Next slide, please. All right, so Horizen Store is very so we are doing April. So we are doing a 10% off store-wide. You can use Zen Spring promo code to get a 10% off, and then it's only going to last 2 weeks, and make sure that you get that. And we are also planning on releasing new products and new cool designs as well. So stay tuned. Next slide, please. Okay, so this slide shows some of the past events that we did in March and in the past 3 months, actually. So it's just a very small collection of them. We had a Horizen meetup in Chongqing, China, hosted by our China community manager, Guan. We also had Horizen meetup in Monterrey, Mexico, hosted by our Mexico country manager, Angie. And also, as always, we had many Horizen and Students for Liberty meetups led by Rolf, which is a remote meetup, super cool. And we also had 4 different conferences just last month in Europe. And in all these 4 conferences, 3 of them we had speakers and representatives evangelizing, Horizen vision. So very busy, and including also the hot import nights in LA, we just talked about earlier, and then it was really cool events as well that really opened up the horizon to a new audience base. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the upcoming event. So in April and also May, we have some really cool events going. As usual, we have Horizen meetups with Students for Liberty in Nigeria, led by Rolf. And also in April, we have the second ZK Proof workshop in California, Berkeley in California, and also IOHK Summit in Miami, Florida. It's a very nice weather. And in May, we have a meetup in Sydney, all the way in Australia. And if you guys are interested hosting a Horizen meetup in your local cities or within your community, make sure that you reach out to us and let us know. We will provide all the support that you need. All right, next slide, please. I think next slide is our regional updates. I will pass this to Vano.
Hello, everyone. So I will update quickly on our commitment to the Eastern Europe region. And I must say that the whole Europe was very much active in March, conference-wise. There was 4 parallel conferences throughout March 22nd, and we actually attended 4 of them. So Luca and Alberto attended the Blockchain UA conference in Ukraine, Kiev, which was the largest one. And Luca will cover the conference in more details on his slide next from me. And I was attending the Blockchain and Bitcoin conference Prague, where I was talking about our 51% attack solution. And I also took part in the panel discussion for blockchain implementation and regulation. Apart from that, I also met the local community there in Prague, which is very active blockchain and cryptocurrency-wise. And then I also would like to mention that I would love to get more followers on our regional social media channels, which are Horizen RU for Russian language and Horizen.ge for Georgian language channels. Next is Luca. It's all yours.
Hello, everybody. Luca here for the traditional update from the Italian market. So last month was an exciting one. We had the Milano Digital Week from the 13th to the 17th of March. It was 5 days full of events, workshops, seminars about the new technologies that are changing our lives. So artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, augmented reality, virtual reality, and of course, blockchain. So the total amount of events that we had here in the city was over 500, meaning that Milan hosted more than 100 events per day. It's a very big number. And let's say that it was not easy to decide which events to attend, also because blockchain was one of the hottest topics and events were overlapping. But this is a great sign, of course, indicating that the interest around the technology is increasing, also from an enterprise point of view. Then I'd like to talk about a specific event that I attended together with Alberto Garofalo, our director of R&D in Kiev, Ukraine. It's the one Vano was speaking about. So Blockchain UA held on the 22nd of March and considered by many rankings as one of the top 10 events worldwide in the blockchain industry. It was mostly technical. So there were 3 stages there, but the tech stage was the most important, the one attracting most of the people. And the level of speakers and attendees was incredibly high. We were there to present our sidechains model. Alberto Garofalo was a speaker. He did a great job, and the presentation was recorded. So it will be posted soon on YouTube on the official Blockchain UA channel. And of course, we will make sure to repost it as well. The audience was very interested in the topic and took the chance to ask some questions at the end of the speech. overall, it was a great chance for us to present our sidechains, but also to network with, let me say, other great minds in the space, and spending some time together with also our colleagues from Ukraine. Some of them are here for the workshop that Maurizio was describing earlier. So speaking about events, this month is also going to be very interesting. We are more and more in touch with the local universities here, with which we are considering the opportunity of organizing mutual events. And next week, the first blockchain bootcamp will be held at Politecnico di Milano. So this is an interesting experiment they are running for the first time. And the goal is to introduce their own computer science students to the blockchain technology. It's a remarkable experiment, and we are very interested in the outcome. Then, last but not least, the Italians Alberto Garofalo and Maurizio Binello from the engineering team are also attending the prestigious ZK Proof Workshop, second edition, to be held in Berkeley. So the one that Lucy was naming, it's between the 10th and the 12th of April. So next month I'll be updating you on that as well. I am now going to cover also next slide. So next slide, please. So update from a Central European and Kenya market. Jonas attended the prestigious Zero Knowledge Summit event in Germany, in Berlin in particular, which is the expert summit for cryptographers and privacy-centering engineers, while Arno attended an event in Spain, in Mallorca, that lasted a few days, and that event was called Mallorca Blockchain Days. We're speaking about another very important event in the blockchain space. So a curious coincidence is that 3 huge events about cryptography have been held in Europe on the same day, Friday, 22nd of March. So I'm speaking about these 2 events, plus the event Blockchain UA in Ukraine, which I personally attended together with Alberto, the one I was describing in the previous slide. So the great thing is that we're attending all of them, and because of that, we were also because of that. I mean, we were able to, of course, network with everybody, all the people, very interesting people, mainly cryptographers and engineers. And then, of course, after the events, we exchanged our impressions, our feedbacks, and business cards, of course. I think this is really remarkable. It was important to be at least at one of those 3 events. We attended all of them simultaneously. Now, the third point on the slide is about another conference in Essen, Blockchain Hotel. And Zen might be also accepted there as a payment method for tickets, so stay tuned for that. And for the people that know us a little bit less, Dorian is working with Cryptost on an article to explain what Zen is all about. Last but not least, Manon, our country representative in France, is working with a radio show to set up a special Zen episode. There is no date yet for this, so please continue following us and follow the hashtag that you can see on the slide to remain updated and to know more. That's it for now. So I'm passing it to Lucy for the Chinese market update.
Hi, Lucy here again. So I would like to one of our newest team members, the Guan Ying, so that he is our new community manager for the China market. So Guan is a long-time Zen supporter and a very active community member. Before he joined us officially, he already contributed to the project in many different ways. So we are super grateful and really excited that now he is a part of the team. So and thanks to his effort and great work in China, our community continues to grow strong and staying very, very active. And he is making connections and establishing partnerships. He hosted the first official Horizen meetup in China also attended a very big blockchain conference. And in the conference, actually, while he's talking to people, he met a lot of Horizen fans. So, Horizen is definitely gaining its name in China. And also, we had some new integrations, popular crypto social platforms. So, that just kind of expanding our outreach to new audience in China. And so China is a very a kind of different market, and then they have their own set of social media systems because of the great government censorship. A lot of them, they have a very hard time to use major social media platforms like Twitter or Facebook because it's all blocked in China. So we had to kind of tailor our regional approach, making our project updates and news and connecting with local community in a different way. So we utilized a lot of local platforms, use a tailored online presence, just to wider reach, and also much easier user experience of them as well. And of course, everything, all the content is translated into Chinese thanks to Wine, and that includes a Horizen Academy. We have a complete version of Horizen Academy in Chinese in a platform that is very easily accessible for all the Chinese community. So thank you so much for the effort and excited growth. That's it for me. Bye.
Okay, thanks, Lucy. Let's see, we'll get my video back on here and get Rob on here. And this is where people have been typing in questions into the YouTube and onto the Discord. So I'm going to look through some of those, and I think Rob is as well. And we'll go through and answer some of those. Anything jumping out at you right away, Rob?
So Gustavo is answering a question on the Sphere by Horizen roadmap and whether or not we want to be able to log into Sphere with our ledger. So I'll type, or I guess Gustavo's response was, we don't yet have a full roadmap for ledger integration spec'd out, but for sure, at least this first step is something that was a no-brainer, low-hanging fruit for the seed restore. So really happy to get that going. We'll look at further integration, approaches as we go forward.
Okay, yeah, and I think it probably won't be limited to Ledger. Part of what we have the ability to do, I believe, with the Trezor Model T is to integrate that as well. I mean, it's nice having our own software wallet that our engineers know how to optimize, and so we'll be able to continue development on that. Let's see. I know that Edilax had a couple questions here. I'm just looking on my other screen to see what they are. He had a question about the DAO, so the Distributed Autonomous Organization, and whether that's still the way to go. So that's kind of a broad question. Do you want to take that one, Rob?
Yeah, sure. I love this subject. So let me start with, our intentions and goals have not changed at all. And what we want to do is fundamentally, we want to democratize the treasury pool. So this is, we have a stream of resources that if you were to do, calculate the present value terms of the stream of resources that will be going on for the next 150 years, give or take, it's significant. So we believe that these resources belong to the community. And now the question is, how do we best give the community direct access versus right now it's kind of a corporate model, even though we're a nonprofit corporation, where the nonprofit corporation governs the resources, and really, implicitly you're signing up to us deciding what's an appropriate resource allocation to do things like innovation, R&D, product engineering, and so forth. Where so we're making these decisions right now. We want to open it up. We've done preliminary research with our R&D partner, IOHK, and we have a prototype there for a voting system that is stake-based, meaning that you will commit your Zen stake to be able to have the right to vote and there will be an aggregation on there. You'll say, yes, no, or abstain on a particular proposal, and we'll aggregate those and take the net. And if the net exceeds a threshold, then we'll fund a project. And the goal is to make this autonomous, but we do have to think about some complexity in terms of real world applications. And what I was brainstorming with Rolf last week actually was, the nonprofit right now is legally liable for what we do with the money. So what if the community votes on funding something that's illegal in the jurisdiction in particular in which we find ourselves, which need not necessarily be the long-term jurisdiction. We have optionality there as well, but we have to have some sort of oversight and governance. So it gets a little bit more complex than just putting into the wild some software. So we have a prototype for the software, at least a general idea on how to apply this IOHK game theoretic framework for voting. We are looking at some other options as well. So there are some other voting systems out there, some other, there's research and mechanism design that I think is very fascinating for us to consider. So, at least for now, where do we stand is we've basically shelved temporarily shelved the prototype that we have because we wanted to run on a sidechain. We think it's much more elegant architecture to run a voting system on a sidechain versus bog down the entire main chain. And if there's introduce a greater threat surface for vulnerabilities. So we're gonna release our sidechain SDK. We're going to build a reference sidechain. We're going to put a voting system on a sidechain, and the inner workings of what this voting system will entail are still TBD, but we have at least a framework that we can use starting point.
Right, as well as what we're going to vote on.
Right, exactly.
When we put the voting system in place, we'll start, because we've had things happen in the last couple of years where it would be great if we had a representative voting system, whether it was a democratic or a plutocratic or whatever type of voting system, so that we could at least get direct, meaningful feedback from the community. And so as we develop and roll out the voting system, then we start deciding, okay, how are we going to vote on things? What things are going to get voted on? So absolutely, working towards a decentralized autonomous organization is where we want to get to. It's just, as we are doing this, we're learning, as with many things in life, that it's more and more complex than we thought, so we need to take it in a stepwise fashion. So anyway. Let's see. I'm checking for other questions here. Ledger integration, DAO. What other things have? Oh, so on the Horizen Academy, that's a big thing. I was brought into the cryptocurrency industry by learning about, actually with Dash, with learning about cryptocurrency that way, and then with mining. And so there's a lot of different paths to learning about things in the cryptocurrency industry, and specifically about Horizen, which we think is the best representative of all those. And so want to make sure that we continue to add to the content and continue to make the content available in many different languages. So please do go check it out and provide us feedback. Yes, I will do an update on mining for that, how to get started in mining, how to be profitable in it, how to specifically mine Zen, what mining does to add to the security of the network, and different things like that. So I have a little bit more time to do that now. Moved out of my smaller mining facility, and with some partners moved into a bigger mining facility. So I'll be providing some updates on that also for folks. Rob, are there other things that people have asked you in the last month that you can think of that might be that we might want to bring up here?
So one thing that I was going to say we can talk about if we don't have other questions is we've actually, we've been talking about this DAG for a while, a core protocol upgrade to make the core protocol more, significantly, disruptively more efficient. And it's something that we've been able to mature, again, prototype with our R&D partners, IOHK, to prove that this type of concept can work. All right. And there's other projects in the marketplace that implement varying types of DAGs. So what I can say now is, my philosophy is, I think for our strategy, our technical strategy, we need to be disruptive. Absolutely, hands down, we need to be disruptive. We're doing some very disruptive things. So I think the market is going to be very interested to see our truly decentralized sidechain SDK once we release that, where we release a core protocol that allows any application developer in the world to build permissionlessly their own blockchain via a sidechain that plugs into our main chain. So from an application developer perspective, I think it's going to really open up our system in a very elegant way for scalability for other applications that right now people are writing on things like Ethereum. We could do things differently, and I think in a way that could scale significantly. But on the main chain side, we've been talking about DAG, and what we've done now, we just kicked off a DAG task force, as we call it, because we have some research in the pipeline that we've matured. We have a prototype. We have some academic papers that we can look towards for guidance. But now it's time to actually start putting some of the resources that we have into deep thinking mode to think, okay, well, how do we actually implement something like this? Because it is a core protocol upgrade, and a core protocol upgrade is scary. It's also really disruptive on one hand. So if we could do it right, it's amazing. We can, take the industry by storm, right? In this particular dimension, I think it's very exciting. But at the same time, we want to be very methodical and robust with whatever we do and make sure that we're not breaking things irreparably. So we've just started a DAG task force where we have our engineers, our various teams internally, actually starting to sketch out what an architecture would look like that we're interested in. And the goal here is to map out who would do what within what time frame so that we can come up with a scope that we could cost out and allocate resources. So this is a very serious project that, in this industry, sometimes we throw out buzzwords and talk about these big roadmap items, but serious, complex engineering products require some deep thinking and resource budgeting and architectural decisions, and there's a lot going on in the background. So I can say, we've kicked this off, and you're going to see more detail in the coming updates about what we're doing there. But again, very complex project, and priority right now is releasing the sidechain SDK. But I for sure wanted us to at least start putting some ideas on paper and marshaling resources.
Yeah, right, exactly. And from the standpoint of the sidechain and the SDK, not only is it beneficial for other folks running applications on the node network that we have, but it also addresses two of the main things that we wanted to do in a distributed fashion that we've talked about at the beginning of tracking and compensating the nodes, and also doing the DAO, the voting system. I have a question from both Muhammad Mustafa and Sandy Johnson about, okay, we've been doing all these great things in Ghana and Nigeria, letting people know about Horizen and about Zen and about cryptocurrencies and how to use them and why it's better than the Ghanaian Cedi and the Nigerian Naira. What are we going to do to continue to get more users and get adoption and get merchants to accept this? And let me circle around to that a little bit and talk about a little bit about how the team works on things and how I work on things and how we work on things together. So Rob's the team lead and is very organized and goes out and we have directors that do all sorts of different areas of responsibility. So we're a very well organized organization, and we're able to get things done in a hurry that way. I work more on the board side of things, which gives me a lot of freedom and flexibility to go do new and different things, to go out and talk, to host the live stream. I've already written down some notes on how I can improve the video aspects of this. And so one of the ideas that I had that would be useful was to do all these remote meetups, and I think they've worked really well. So based upon the success and the team has recognized that we don't always have to go do things in person, or we don't always have to go to conferences, that there's a large amount of people out there that would like an introduction from someone locally that can show them about how Horizen works, and then to be there, continue along with that. So that's why Lucy mentioned during the live stream that if people are interested in hosting meetups, we've now put something in place that we're able to provide assistance to host those meetups. So, good presentations, people able to do the presentations, a whole process, and part of which together we've pioneered with specifically the remote meetups that I've been doing with Muhammad and with Sani, and other folks have been doing many meetups locally and things like that. So we're going to roll it all together, and you'll see more meetups from us. So please do reach out to our marketing team for support on those.
I love it. You've convinced me, Rolf. I don't think we need to go and talk all over the world. I think it's much better let's use technology.
Yeah. So, and with the technology these days with video and internet and all sorts of different things like that, it really is helpful. Okay. I don't see any more questions, Rob, unless something's popped up in the last few minutes.
No, I think this is great. Really good overview of the team. As you see, all the work that we're doing. So we're powering forward on the community side, the BD side. Engineering team is becoming very sophisticated and moving forward on some very unique innovations that I think are going to be very useful for all of us as a community. Marketing team is doing an amazing job. Our community leads are doing an incredible job all over the world. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. Participate. Like we always say, try to be part of the action here. It's great that you support us and you're watching and helping out, but participating and joining the fun is always preferable. So become part of this. It is a community project. We want to expand it. We want to do good things and make the world a better place. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you again in a month.